Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Girlfriends Talking, where your story matters. I'm your host, Ramona Torres. Wherever you are today, grab a drink, grab a seat, and get comfortable. I'm excited to share a new author with you today. Her name is Heather Stover, and we're going to bring her in. But before we bring her in, make sure that you like and follow our Girlfriends Talking podcast Facebook page. Don't forget to subscribe to our Girlfriends Talking podcast YouTube channel. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. It's warm out here in PA. How's the weather out in Ohio?
It is very comfortable. It's been in the high 70s today, so we're loving it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So before we start, tell me two fun facts about you.
Okay, two fun facts that about my family really. The first one is we have moved actually 11 times in the past 16 years. So a
What?
lot of people think that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Just kind of been our life for one reason or the other. We've moved all the way to Florida and we've moved right next door. So we've had a couple interesting moves. The other fun fact is that I was actually off of social media for over a decade
No way.
until I finished this book. So, yeah, so I
How
kind of,
was that?
I didn't know the difference really because when I was on social media, it was very minimal and it was kind of when everything was newer to me. And so when we had started off on like MySpace for a short time and then Facebook for a very short time, but I went off of it and I didn't know what I was missing really.
You didn't miss a thing.
No.
Okay, so usually I start and I share a little bit about my speaker. I share the bio, but today I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Like I said, I have been married to my husband Jayson for 16 years, and we have two children. My daughter Savannah is 15, and my son Noah is 11. Um, we live in a small village here in Ohio, and I'm beginning to accept this author title. It's very new, and the Lord has really led me to this place in my life. Before then, my husband and I played music together. We still play music, but we did that for about 19 years now. We have been a duo. I sing, he plays guitar and sings. And for the past 5 years, we have been worship leaders at our church.
Okay, and the name of your church?
It's Olive Tree Christian Fellowship.
Go ahead and give them a shout out in Ohio.
Yay!
So now your book hasn't come out yet. It
Right.
comes out on the drum
26th
roll.
of August. Yay!
Boom. And you're excited. I'm
Yes,
excited for you.
yes.
Okay,
Very
and the
cool.
title of your book?
The title is The Change in Us.
Okay. All right. So for readers, right, that are struggling to heal from childhood wounds, because that's what you're going to be talking about,
Yeah.
how do you encourage them in your book?
So my book is broken into three parts. The first part is the first five chapters, and it is called Looking Back. And it's really just a lot of memories, trying to like set the scene for where we're going. It's a lot of hard things to talk about. For those who know me, um, it's going to be surprising probably to a lot of you because there were a lot of things that were never out in the open. Um, but the middle of the book is looking up, and that's the next five chapters. And it really explains a transition period from childhood into young adulthood where I met my husband and kind of started switching my viewpoint on family and, just finding my own way. And then the last part is looking forward. And that's really the meat of it all is when God steps in, and I explain the pursuit of God in my life and how he pursued me, and then how I'm still trying to just know everything I can about him. So
Okay. So for readers who don't share an experience of addiction, okay, but might have a loved one who does, what insights will your book reveal to them?
yeah, so the beginning obviously, I grew up in a home where my dad was an alcoholic and addicted to drugs. And that really it changes everything, because if you've experienced any amount of time with an alcoholic, you never know what version of that person you're going to get. And on a good day, he was a wonderful man. He was fun, and there's a lot of things I remember about him that I still cherish. But on most days, it was my alcoholic dad. And so, for those who experience addiction with a loved one, you just have to understand that it's not really them. And there is a level of forgiveness that you have to find and a level of understanding. And I guess, ultimately you have to realize that's their story and it's not your story. And you can change the direction of your story. Although you can't change them, we can definitely pray for them and just gain that perspective that it's not our responsibility and it's not our fault.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what makes your book unique among other memoirs that address addiction and abuse?
Well, all of our stories are unique, so it's my story. God wrote this story for my life, and the everybody's story for their own life. But I guess a lot of the memoirs I've read have all been faith based, so there are probably a lot of similarities. But there are definitely different memoirs who are don't go faith based, and it's just God in the story. When God enters your story and you realize who God is and the attributes of God and who you are in Christ, it changes everything. So like I said, the level of forgiveness changes. Your responsibility to forgive changes. Um, when you realize who you are as a daughter of God, you are adopted, and so you are a new creation once you accept Jesus in your life. And so there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that, and there's a lot of commands, that we have to follow. So my book, it's Jesus. And so I hope it stands out that Jesus changes everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And each story is unique,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
can maybe struggle the same things, but each story is unique. It's
Right.
kind of like our fingerprint. Like we
Right.
have, my fingerprint is different than yours. And so my story is different than yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what is a difficult decision to open up about your life in such a personal way? Was it difficult?
Yeah.
Because I,
So when I set out to write this book, I was on the mountaintop. I had had a mountaintop experience with God. I had awesome things happening in my life, and I had really felt the call from God that it is time. It is time to write this book that you had been thinking about for years and that God had laid on my heart. Um, as I started the writing process and started remembering things and started realizing how I was going to have to lay the foundation of my past in order to explain the present. Um, it was very hard. There's a lot of personal stories, from my family, like I said, that a lot of people don't know about, and things that just aren't openly discussed and not pretty. But we all have things. And I think it's so important for us to be open with one another. That way we don't feel so alone and we don't feel afraid to talk about faith or afraid to talk about problems that are going on in our life. Because when we understand each other's story and understand that everyone has something regardless. I just think it's so important for us to bond and just have that with one another. So, yes, it was hard, and I've told it time and time again that my writing sessions, I would sit in puddles of sweat and tears, just remembering and dealing with things I had never dealt with before. But putting it out in a personal way, I think is necessary in order to feel the impact of what God can do and how He can change your life.
yeah, and almost therapeutic, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there any details in the book that you had forgotten up until you began that process of writing your story? Because I know I hear a lot of people say that there's certain And I know with me personally, there's certain times in my life where there's areas where I don't remember. I have forgotten some things, like in my childhood. There's a certain age to a certain age where I kind of like checked out and
Yeah.
don't remember. So was that hard for you?
It
Did you?
was. It was actually surprising because I would get to certain memories, that I was trying to put the pieces together, and I was honestly trying to find God in all the places. Because I would remember, I'm like, that had to be God, or that was God there. So I was trying to put all the pieces together. And as I would remember that, I would have discussions with my mom and with my brother, and then with my husband when I got to that point. And just the perspectives of each of us were so different. And they would bring up parts of the memory that I had not remembered, and I would bring up parts of the memory they had not remembered. And so we were all putting it together. And I mean, we were all equally hurt in the memories. Um, but it also helped me to understand, it wasn't just me being hurt. It was everyone facing their own struggles. And it kind of helped me get out of the victim mode
Mhm.
as we began to work through, the issues that we had never taken the time to discuss.
Yeah, and it's interesting how several people could live under the same roof and have different perspectives of the
Yes,
situation, or were affected in different ways.
yes, yes. Because there's so
Yeah,
many feelings that just aren't talked about, and life gets so busy, and everyone has their own things going on that you just try to push through the day, when really some little significant things happen that you carry with you all the way through your life. And if you don't deal with them and help each other to understand, it's just going to cause more and more wounds.
yeah. I know growing up, there was a lot of things that weren't discussed, and so with my kids, I was like, okay, I want them to have a voice. I want them to be able to talk about whatever's going on, or if they're not feeling comfortable, whatever. My husband's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, no, I want them to have a voice because it's how they feel. It's their story. And so, yeah. So as a mom, do you have any concerns about your kids one day picking up that book and reading it? Um, will you discuss certain aspects of it with them before they pick up that book, or before somebody says, "Hey, did you know your mom wrote a book?" And
Yeah,
now I know, what happened, whatever with
right,
your grandpa.
right. So I've already let my 15-year-old. I gave her the book to read before we went through any of the final publishing. And I did that as well with everybody who was in the book: my mom, my brother, my husband. I mean, everyone that had a significant role within the book. We all went through it. Everyone had a chance to go through it multiple times, and we had a lot of discussion. With my kids specifically, yeah, my daughter Savannah, she read the whole thing, and we talked about a lot of things, but a lot of it wasn't new to her. We've been very open. And my son as well, he did not read the whole book. He's 11, but I have discussed all of the things with him, and we keep a very open relationship. And there's a lot to talk about, addiction, and pain, and all those things. They're just so real, and they're so relevant in a lot of families. So it's to be able to identify that, within peers and other family members, and just to have like some perspective and understanding on those topics, I think is very important for children. And then, to be open on both ends, like why you shouldn't get into any, why you shouldn't drink, why you shouldn't smoke, why you shouldn't do all these things, and what can happen if you do, and
Was
how
that
far it can go.
was that something that your father just experienced, or was that something that you then picked up?
Both. So my dad, absolutely, he, like I said, he was an alcoholic, and abused drugs and all that, throughout my childhood. But then into my adolescence and, young adulthood, I also picked up the same habits, and I use them as a way to forget. I use them as a way to deal with my childhood that I had never dealt with, because so much had happened at that point that was not resolved and was not talked about, not dealt with. Everything just kind of shoved under the rug and moved on. um, I didn't want to remember. And so every time those memories would come up, those hurts, the pain, the anything, I would drink them away, or smoke them away. I just wanted to be in my own element. I didn't want to have to deal with that.
Because people don't just wake up one day and say, I want to abuse alcohol and drugs, right?
No,
It's,
absolutely not. And mine was very slow. It was just something. It was just the crowd I was in. It was just what we did. It was just for fun. That's just the life we lived. And it didn't seem, I hear people say, well, I wasn't addicted enough to have a story, or I wasn't abusing drugs enough to be called an addict, and it's like, that's a scary place to be, because if you're using them to erase or dull pain, or just numb anything, I'm sorry, but it can be a problem. And
yeah.
it's not going to go away until those feelings and those memories are dealt with.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm thinking of a person right now that I know who was good until 18, and then after 18, he got hooked on drugs, and the parents, unfortunately, he's 40, and the parents are still in denial, like there's something wrong with him, but they don't realize that it's all that stuff that went on in the home,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
pretending like it never happened. So all
Right.
that stuff that went on in the home, that so they haven't hit that yet, and it breaks my heart, because no child wakes up one day and decides, I want to do drugs, right?
No,
There's
no, it's the
usually
emotions. Yeah, and we don't know how to deal with them. I mean, things have to be talked out and sorted out and prayed over. And I mean, God being a part of our lives is just, it's necessary
absolutely.
in every situation.
Yeah. So are there any stories that you altered or left out altogether, either to protect yourself or someone, in your family, someone you love?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a first draft of the book, and I have that stored away. There were many, many drafts of the book, but the first draft of the book is like a diary, and it's me pouring out all the years of my life that I never dealt with, all the things. There's the anger and the hurt and the, I mean, it's messy, and it was necessary. But I had to go back through that first draft, and I had to pick out what was my story to tell and what was other people's stories to tell, because there's a lot of information that I lived through, that I witnessed, that I have my own pains over, but it's not my story. um, Everyone has their own story, and I think it's awesome that we all have that opportunity to tell our story in one way or the other, because it's just so healing, as I said. But yeah, there's a lot that I took out, and there's a lot that I'll never bring to the surface, because it's just not mine.
How long did it take you, real quick, from the time you started writing to complete that first draft to then have to continue to rewrite to get all that stuff out? Like, how long of that process?
Well, the process altogether from start to finish was 3 years.
Okay.
But this past year has just been editing and publishing. So there was almost a full year of editing once I got my final draft. So I'd say about 2 years it took. And that was some pretty intense writing sessions.
Yes, I can only imagine. And I'm wanting to, I think I need to start writing. And so, yeah, that's why that little question was like a little side note. How long did it
Yeah.
take you? Because we think that it's something quick, but it's not. It's a process, because it's something that you ask God,
Yeah.
this is something that he's allowing you to do, that he's giving you the okay. He's giving you the green light to go. It's not like something you just wanted to just do just to do.
Right.
There's a reason, there's a purpose. This is a season that God has you on. And so, okay, so you write about some intense supernatural encounters that had a major impact on your healing and on your spiritual growth. Okay, so do you anticipate anybody being skeptical, any of your readers, of some of the stuff that you share? Like, like.
Um, if they've read the Bible and they know the gospel, no, I don't.
Okay.
If you're aware of the truth, then you'll see it. Of course, people who don't understand or haven't read certain parts of the Bible, that could kind of say, oh, that's happened before. I remember reading that, especially in the Old Testament. Then yeah, there could be some skepticism. But in thinking about that question, I think that that would just be confusion on miracles or magic. So there's a big difference.
Right.
And magic obviously is not real and is, completely different from God's miracles. So I think that maybe more confusion rather than skepticism, if they're just not familiar with the truth. But no, I had a couple of supernatural things happen in my life, and it was amazing and life changing and very testifiable. And I just love to share it because God is so good and so huge and can do all things. So it's a very
Absolutely.
important part of my story.
Amen. Amen. Well, you'll have to get the book to read it because we're not
No,
gonna
I
let it
don't
out
give away
yet.
too much. Yeah.
So how did you handle writing about, negative, deep personal things involving those you love, like your mom and your family
Yeah.
members?
So first I wrote it and then I rewrote it and rewrote it. And then, like I said, I had them read it and we had to have some very deep discussions. We that were needed. I mean, they should have happened years ago and we just didn't really know how to address them or why to even bring them back up. Like things that had been, so long ago but needed to be talked about. And like I said, and that was such a good thing because we could see each other's perspectives and get the other viewpoint. And as a child, I don't know what my parents are going through. I don't know their side of the story, and I shouldn't know as a child, like there, or maybe I should at a certain age. But when you're young and there's a lot of their own personal things going on, you just don't understand. You just think of yourself and think you're hurt, or I'm sad, I'm being hurt, I'm not happy. But it was really good to deal with these things, now that I'm older and my mom's older and my brother's older, and we could deal with a lot of these issues. um, like I said, it's just been really healing. It has been such a wonderful process, and I totally see why God laid this on my heart and said it was time, because it has just been an amazing experience.
Yeah, parenting is hard, adulting is hard, and then
Yeah,
if you have something that you are struggling with or you struggled with, how do you tell that to your kids? At what age do you tell them? Is it appropriate? I know I've had to share some things. One particular son, I remember him saying, "Mom, why didn't you ever tell me that?" Because it came out in a situation where, we have to discuss it.
yeah,
I wasn't planning on it, and I thought, that's a great question. I was struggling with it. I was dealing with it, and
yeah,
I had, I didn't know, and I'm sorry. I had to apologize. He's an adult now, and he was an adult at the time, but I had to apologize and say sorry.
yeah.
Like, I was trying to work these things out myself.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
that's a huge part. Once we know the gospel too, and just at any age, if we can understand forgiveness and understand that everyone, no one's perfect, and if we don't forgive, then I've heard it said that we're sipping our own poison, because it's really just hurting us. It's not hurting anyone else. So it's so important just to understand and to forgive, and like I said, to talk. It's communication is crucial, for families, for friends, for anyone, anyone you're in a relationship with, because you have no idea what anyone else is going through, or what they need, unless you talk about it. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah, I'm the talker in my family as far as my sibling goes, and I've told my nieces and nephews, I'm not keeping these secrets any longer. I'm not going to be part of it. I'm too grown. I'm 53 years
Yeah,
old, and I know how the enemy works when you keep those secrets. So we're going to talk about it. If your parents don't want to discuss it, I'm sorry, but I'm talking about it. And so
yes,
they know when they have questions, who's just going to go ahead and tell them the truth
yeah, which
because
it's just a healthy I mean, it's healthy. The truth is necessary. And then the
mm,
discussions that come with it, to see all sides.
absolutely, absolutely. So what did you learn about yourself through this process as you were writing this book that maybe you didn't know before?
Oh, I learn a lot. I was able to absolutely see where I fell short. Um, I was able to, I through writing this book, I searched and searched the scriptures. I read the Bible cover to cover and over and over, and just in doing that, really did some soul searching and figured out how accountable I am in a lot of the circumstances that have happened in my life where I could easily fall into self-pity. And in doing that, I was able to, get everything down on the pages and have this product that, this finished product of this book. But in that, I am learning, even since I finished the book, and this has just been, a few months now, that I'm still human and I still am going to go through some things and I don't have it all figured out. And this book is really already holding me accountable because I know so many truths now, and I know how I am to act, and I know how I am to handle things in a Christ-like manner. And I am even more accountable now that I've put it out on paper and that I'm going to put it out into the world, So,
Mhm.
so it's helping me to be quieter and watch more and pray more and really think about others more than myself, and just try to really reflect on Jesus's being and how he was and how he dealt with things, and and that is our model. And so I'm learning to just really pray more and try to be more like Jesus.
Amen. Amen. So, how did the process of writing the book impact your relationship with the people that you write about? Like after you wrote that, how did it impact your
Um,
relationships now that it's out?
Obviously, there is still some butterflies in all of our stomachs. I know, and I know some of them are watching now. I'm pretty sure my mom's watching now.
Oh, hi, mom.
But and it's hard. It's hard being vulnerable, and it's hard, airing out, all of our old memories and all of the things that happened. But we all know the Lord now, and
Amen.
it's just, I mean, although it'll always be hard to talk about. It'll always be hard to remember, certain things. I think it's brought everyone closer, and it's given everyone a better understanding of just how powerful God can be.
Yes.
And if we trust in him, how much healing he can bring in our hearts, and to truly forgive. When you really feel um, that you have truly forgiven someone that you never thought you could forgive, it is just an unexplainable feeling of peace and happiness and joy, about that other person that you never thought was possible, and it is through Christ. So
Amen.
I think it's even my husband. There was a lot that was talked about. We had some rocky years and we had some things happen that we never, discussed at the time. And we just like I did in my childhood, we just kept going, kept going, kept going. And it all just kept building and building. When it wasn't till I wrote this book and he read the parts, where we sat down and we were like, okay, well, obviously your perspective was different than mine in this period of time. And I need to help you understand where I was coming from, and vice versa. So, I mean, it's made our marriage stronger. And I feel like it's made all the relationships stronger because we've actually talked about things that needed to be talked about.
Yeah, I am so about when you open up and you tell the truth, not only do you get healing and you're set free, but now you're able to help someone else who may be right now in that same family, dynamic with a
Yeah.
father that's alcoholic and, and everything that you struggled with. As your mom watching, I would be so proud of you because um this is going to help so many people, and so I can't wait to hear all the testimonies that are going to come out of, once the people start to read the book. So in the book you wrote the book. Is the I'm sorry, is the book you wrote the book you set out to write? I'm sorry, I was so
No.
caught up in that moment of the people that you're just going to be able to help with your book. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. No, thank you for saying that. That's encouraging. The is the book Did the book turn out the way I set out for it to turn out? Yes. I do believe um, it did turn out the way I envisioned it. and God led me each step of the way. So it's the strangest thing because he he was just there. I mean, in every single step, and I could just write testimony after testimony, and you don't even have enough time for me to tell you all the things that happened during the writing of this book and during the publishing process. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot more vulnerable and transparent than I thought it would be. I would, like I said, when I started, I was on this mountaintop experience, and I was just basking in all the wonderful things that had just happened in my life when I started writing this book, and I was just in awe at what God was doing and what He had done and where He had brought me from. But then yeah, to sit down and just kind of paint the picture of, well, I had to be here in order to get here. That was unexpected, and but like I said, it all turned out for the good, and like God does, He worked it all out, and um, yeah, I mean, the hard is always going to be hard, even if you've healed, even if you've forgiven, even if there are still, you don't forget, and even talking about it over and over, even if you have forgiven, there is still a pain, that you remember. But it's different because you see what God can do, and it just kind of takes away the, I don't know, the hard parts of the hard. It's
Because you
not
can,
so bad.
yeah, you can see his hand. Now you can go back and see his hand. He never left you. He never,
Absolutely.
he was with you always. And I think that's the part that some people, maybe new believers or people that don't believe, don't understand, that if we serve this good God, that how He allows us to go through these things. But I always think of the story of Joseph, right? What the enemy meant for harm, God used for good. And
Yes.
so, yeah. Wow, wow, wow. Anything else that you want to share with us that maybe I didn't ask before we let you go? And then we're going to go over to the comment section and see if we have any questions or comments.
No, I think we covered the book pretty well. I did want to share that I have a website up now. It's heatherstover.com. It's pretty easy. And I have a blog on there that is called Breathing Space. And so I've just been writing on there, taking time to rest in God's promises and just kind of sharing what I'm learning on this journey, and doing a lot of Bible study on my own, and then kind of sharing, what I'm learning in that, and also in the experiences of my life. Um, so yeah, other than that, I think we've covered the book very well.
Yeah, so we can find you on Facebook, Instagram. I went ahead and put your website on there, and I'll put your IG once we're done. Let's go over to the comments. I see my little box is blowing up here.
Okay.
Let's see. So Cynthia says, good evening. Teresa says, good evening. Good evening, Teresa. Go, Heather. We love you. Who's Haley?
Haley, she is a friend. Yes. Hi, Haley.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Facebook user says the process. So we don't know who that is, but they said the process. So I don't know at what point where you were. Let's see. It says, can't wait to read the book. I have a strong feeling it will hit home for me. Just listening to you, I see myself. Praise God.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
That's what it's about. Girlfriends Talking is that we all have a story. And if we give it to the Lord and we allow Him to heal us and redeem us and restore us, or restore us and redeem us, He can use our story for His glory, and we can help so many people. And so that just, that excites me. What a great interview. Can't wait to purchase a copy of your book. Yes, yes, yes. It's going to be available on the 26th.
26. Yes.
26th. Haley says she can't wait to read.
Thanks,
Yes.
Haley.
Yep, yep, yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Thank your husband and your children for allowing me to take a little bit of your time away from your family. I love you with the love of Christ. I can't wait to get my copy in my hands.
Thank you.
And go ahead and stay in the green room, and I'll be with you shortly. Okay.
Thank you
All
so much.
right. Bye. Girlfriends, thank you for spending the evening with us. Make sure that you go out on the 26th and pick up her book. The title is The Change in Us. It'll be on Amazon, it'll be on her website, and anywhere where you find Christian books. We'll put some information on there for you to be able to follow up, because I will definitely be grabbing my copy of the book on the 26th. Please follow Heather at www.heatherstover.com. Check out her blog, share her on your pages with your friends, let everyone know about her book. Let's help her get that book in as many hands as we possibly can. Once again, this will be, if you didn't catch it live today, you can catch it on replay. If you're watching after the fact, go ahead and put replay. Tell us where you're watching from, and go ahead and like Girlfriends Talking page, our Instagram, follow us on YouTube, and make sure you follow Heather and let her know that you saw her interview on Girlfriends Talking. I love you all with the love of Christ. God bless and have a wonderful evening.